All right, shalom, shalom. All right, before I get started, I want to give all praise and honor and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. All right, double honors to our apostles, Elsgate Millstone, that rule well, and shalom, Lakasah, Lahabak which means peace and mercy to the elect throughout the four corners, wherever you may be. All right, I'm the brother Amar from the branch of GMS Cleveland, coming back at you with another video. Lord willing, to be edifying to whomever may be watching. And I just want to get into this lesson. I'm gonna title it "Our Hope versus the World's Hope." All right, or our hope versus their hope. And what I mean by that is when you listen to people, when you talk to people, everybody has what you consider like hopes or expectations. Expectations. A synonym or another word for expectations is it can be hope. All right, or outlook. But if you ask people about where do you see yourself in a couple of years, or what do you want to do, or what do you plan on doing, yada yada yada, people will tell you what their expectations. All right, now outside of the elect, you won't hear people's hope or expectations for this place to go down. You won't hear people's hope or expectations of wickedness to be put to a complete halt or stop or cease to exist. You won't hear people's hope and expectation is that of the will of the Lord. All right, righteousness flourishing. All right, you just won't hear it. All right, people are too caught up in the flesh. They're too concerned about the cares and affairs of this present world that all they're doing is pretty much hoping and lusting after material things. All right, which in the kingdom of heaven we will have material things. We'll be rich beyond our hearts can fathom. But nonetheless, that's what it's not all about, man. All right, that's not what it's all about, man. Scripture said that in Romans 14th chapter about how the kingdom of heaven is not meat and drink. All right, it's not all about just having riches and you know what I mean, and showing up to an event or a feast or a festive and just flaunting your tangible things, man. All right, and that's the position in which we were faced, or the position in which we're in with the majority of the world. But anyway, just going back to the topic, our hope versus their hope. All right, I'm going to start off in Psalms the 71st chapter and get some other scriptures, but this is Psalm 71 verse 1. It says, "In thee, O Lord, do I put my trust." It says, "Let me never be put to confusion." It says, deliver me in thy righteousness and cause me to escape. It says, "Incline thine ear unto me." It says, "And save me." This is another hope that we have. All right, another hope is what us being delivered. All right, us escaping this soon to be wasteland. All right, which in the scriptures it talks about the lake of fire. So we want to escape this destruction, this upcoming like I said, destruction and chaos is about to take place. Our hope is to be saved. All right. It says, "Be thou my strong habitation, whereof I may continually resort." It says, "Thou hast given a commandment to save me." It says, "For thou art my rock and my fortress." It says, "Deliver me, O my power." It says, "Out of the hand of the wicked, out of the hand of the unrighteous and cruel man." And then this is obviously, the position at which we are in, man. All right, we are faced with being captives to what a cruel and unrighteous nation of people. All right, and it just so happened they are the most wicked out of all the nations ever created. Especially, when you consider the acts and the things that this man has done. All right, no nation on earth has done what Esau and Edom has done. So-called white man and woman, they have utterly, changed. Are attempting to change the way the Lord created literally everything, man, even down to humans. All right, trying to rewire, DNA and change the molecular structure of how these bodies were created. Through Yahweh Bashem Yahushai and Alahayim. they're changing, the food that we consume and making it processed food, and they're literally synthetic food. GMOs, foods that were literally created in a lab, man. That no one ever has done that. No one ever is attempting to do what this man is doing, which is to chip every living creature on earth and reign over them as if he's God. All right. No one ever has done that. No one's ever changed the image of the Lord, man. All right, and made it to their image, and no one's ever taken a nationality of someone and claimed and portrayed to be them. This man. This is the man. Anyway, man. So just going back to it, man. Like I said, our hope versus their hope, man. Our hope is for this place to be destroyed, man. Our hope is for what the Lord to come back and rule and reign in complete righteousness over his habitation, over his domain. All right, versus the hope of the world. The hope of the world. When you talk to your favorite cousin or your family members, so called, your co-workers, anybody that's not of this truth, man, their concern and their hope, expectation is for what this world to keep going, and this world to forward itself in wickedness. All right, they want to see the next major event, whether it's the Olympics, whether it's the next Super Bowl or All-Star game or playoffs. That's their expectation. So if you're hoping to see the next playoffs or the next such and such, that means you're hoping for another year here. You're hoping for more wickedness to reign. See what I'm saying? Nah, man. Nah, that ain't it. That ain't it, man. Jumping down. Jumping down to verse 12. It says, "O Yahweh, be not far from me, O my power, make haste for my help." It says, "Let them be confounded and consumed that are adversaries to my soul." It says, "Let them be covered with reproach and dishonor that seek my hurt." Yeah, man, that's another hope of ours, man, for our enemies to be downtrodden, for our enemies to be put in subjection under us, man, confounded. All right, it says, "But I will hope continually and will yet praise thee more and more." It says, "My mouth shall show forth thy righteousness and thy salvation all the day, for I know not the numbers thereof," man. All right, so there you go, man. Like I said, our hope. All right, our hope and expectation, man, is to be delivered and for our enemies to be in subjection under us, man. These are hopes, these are desires, these are expectations, these are wants. Hell, needs. The world needs us to be back in position that once were. And with this go around, the Lord is going to magnify us to where the kingdom of heaven will never. Once the kingdom of heaven is established, it will never be even threatened to be taken down. All right, let me get this real quick, man. This is Proverbs 10 and 28. It says I'll start from verse 27. Proverbs 10 and 27. "The fear of the Lord prolongeth days." It says, "But the years of the wicked shall be shortened." And that's another hope of ours. Another hope, all right, versus their hope. Our hope is for what the days of the wicked, the triumphant of the wicked, to be brought to an end, to be shortened, so that righteousness can rule. Because wickedness is having this time, and it will we'll eventually get to a point where we'll eventually be able to actually say, "Hey, wickedness had its time." But right now, wickedness still has its time. All right, and we're praying and we're hoping for a few days, like scripture say, pray for a few days. All right, but what the world's hope, or their hope, on the flip side of that is for their wickedness to continue. All right, so like I said, our hope versus their hope, or our hope versus the world hope. The world doesn't want to see a world, especially even our people, the rest of the heathens. You know what I mean? They don't want to see a world where Esau, Edom, so-called white man and woman is slaves. All right, and they're at the bottom, and especially the so-called Negro man is at the top and ruling. They don't want to see that. All right, but guess what's gonna happen? It says verse 28, the hope of the righteous shall be gladness, but the expectation of the wicked shall perish, man. Again, going into that word expectation, when you go into a synonym of that, one of those synonyms is hope. It says, "But the hope of the wicked shall perish," man. You see what I'm saying? So look, all right, look, man, we coming upon them times, man, where eventually the things that we speaking about, they're going to eventually manifest, man. Because we're speaking about now, this kingdom, how the Lord's going to eventually destroy this place, man. Eventually, it's going to manifest. It's going to actually be a reality. All right. Right now, it's not a reality, man. But very soon, it will be, man. Let me see. There's another one right here. I'm probably gonna close on this. It says Proverbs 11 and 7. It says, when a wicked man dieth, his expectation shall perish. All right, all his hopes that he had, you know what I'm saying? Nigga was plotting that he gonna do this and then that, and this year we're gonna take over this territory, and next year we're gonna conquer these people, and by this year I have this amount of wealth, man. Look, man, once you die, nigga, all that, your expectations, your hopes, your desires, that perishes with thee, man. It says, and the hope of unjust men perisheth, man. So yeah, all, even including our people, man, their desires and their hopes, man. Look, all that's gonna perish right along with this kingdom, man. All right, a lot of our people that's wicked and that's joined to the system, they want to be the next LeBron James or the next best trap rapper, all right, or rapper in general that's talking about complete madness and wickedness. Hey, man, look, man, you're gonna die here, man. All right, there's no way of there's no other way of putting it, man. So once again, going into it, man, our hope versus their hope. You know what I mean? If you hoping for this place to continue on, man, the Lord gonna destroy you right along with this wicked kingdom. If your hope is for the Lord to destroy this place and come back and reign right along with his men in complete righteousness, man, where the animals and children can run around safe and not, worry about poachers and worry about molesters and pedophiles and all that, guess what, man? Then you in the right spirit, man. All right, Lord, well, I probably might do a part 2 to this, man. But for now, I'm going to say shalom.